Viewers, and welcome back to the final math class. This question on the board was sent to me by one of my followers in the person of Hawa Abdulaziz, and the person is asking me for the solution of this question. So I thought of solving it for the benefit of my followers. So without wasting my time, let's go straight forward to the solution of this question. Now, there are certain factors that you need to consider when tackling a question of this such this form. Okay, the first thing is having known that it is an integration question. Okay, the question comes from integration. You have to also notice something which, if you are asked to integrate this one, it will be very difficult for you. So you have to consider another way of solving it before you integrate it. Okay, so looking at the question, you could see that when we use the method, the topic under mathematics called the partial fraction, we can use to resolve this before the integration will set in. Okay, so now the first thing that you have to do before you integrate this question is to resolve it in partial fraction. Okay, so resolving this in partial fraction, we have 10x minus 2x dividing x minus 3 enclosed in a bracket, and also multiplying x minus 1, which is also enclosed in a bracket. So you equate it to a certain constant, say a, dividing. Then you take the denominators. Okay, you see we have two binomials multiplying themselves. So you take first one, dividing the first constant, okay, plus you introduce another constant, say b, also dividing the next binomial expression, which is what, x minus 1. All right. Now, in partial fraction, when you have certain thing, or in fraction itself, when you have an expression like this, what you need to do is to find LCM and then you'll simplify. Okay, so with this one, if you simplify it, this equation, if you simplify it, this is what you will obtain. You will be obtaining a multiplying x minus 1 plus b multiplying x minus 3. Okay, so this is what you'll be obtaining when you simplify this equation, this simple equation on the at the top. Okay, so if you are conversant with how to resolve this one, you will just look at the expression or the equation and then you write the outcome of it. Okay, so this one, it takes practice to master such thing. Okay, now let's see. We are going to use, in partial fraction, we use a certain method to solve it. Okay, two different methods. Okay, the first method is method of expansion. Okay, with the method of expansion, you have to expand this bracket and then you solve this simultaneously, this equation simultaneously. You make maybe a the subject, then you solve for b, and then making b the subject, then you solve for a. That is it. And then the next thing is to use the method of elimination. Okay, which you try to put one of the constant to 0, so it will be left with the other, and then you solve for the value of the one you left. Okay, so without wasting my time, because of time, I would like us to use the method of elimination. Okay, which is very simple as compared to the other method, which is the method of what, expansion. So with that one, you have to state, in order to get one of the constant 0, you have to look at the constant, those that they are multiplying. If you can put x to, say, a value which will cause that particular constant to be 0. Okay, so let's say if I want b to be 0, I will state that when x is equal to, say, 3. Okay, you realize that when I put x to be equal to 3, I will get 10 minus 2 multiplying 3 equal to a into bracket 3 minus 1 plus b into bracket 3 minus 3. Okay, so with this expression, you could realize that we'll be having 10 minus 6 equating to 3 minus 1, you'll be getting 2. So 2 multiply a, and then we'll have what, 2a here. Okay, plus our b here. So b, 3 minus 3 will give us what, 0. Okay, so when b multiplies 0, we'll get 0. So obviously now 10 minus 6, we will have 4 equating to 2a. All right, then plus 0. This is 0 because any number multiplied by 0 is what? Is 0. So we've gotten rid of, or we've eliminated the b, which is the constant. Okay, so here, so for it, we divide both sides of the equation by 2. Okay, so now we have our a to be equal to what? 2. All right, now when we have a to be equal to 2, we can also decide to also eliminate a from this equation, so we could solve for b. All right, so straight for it over there too, you need to look for a value which, if you put inside the equation, you substitute it with x, you will be putting a 0, so we could solve for b. Now when we state that when x is equal to 1, okay, we can eliminate a from the equation. So now we have 10 minus 2 times 1 equating to a into bracket 1 minus 1 plus b into bracket 1 minus 3. All right. So now we have 10 minus 2 giving us what? A multiplying 0, because 1 minus 1 will give us what? 0, plus b multiplying 1 minus negative 3, or 1 minus 3 will be giving us what? Minus 2. Okay, so here 10 minus 2 we get 8 equating to, here will be 0. Okay, 0 will multiply a and then we will get 0. All right, so b will multiply negative 2 and we will have what? Negative 2b. So we divide through by what? Negative 2, and then we have our b to be equal to what? Negative 4. All right, so now having our a to be equal to 2 and then our b to be equal to what? Negative 4. We will bring it back to this expression, okay, this equation, and then we substitute them here. So now we have our a to be equal to 2 and then our b will be equal to what? Negative 4. So now this, we know this is equal to this, so we can substitute the whole of this into the integration. Okay, so now let me clean everything here. Now the first part was the integration, the partial fraction part. Okay, now we've resolved the question into partial fraction, so it is up to us to substitute the partial fraction, the question into partial fraction form to the integration. Okay, so now we have the integral of, now it has been resolved towards 2 over x minus 3 minus 4 dividing x minus 1. All right, dx. Okay, so now this is what the question has turned into. So now switch for resolving this into partial fraction. Before we do that, we could decide to factorize 2 out. Okay, we can factorize 2 out from here. We can factorize 2 from here too. Okay, so we have 2 out. Integrate into then we bring your integral symbol. It will be left with 1 over x minus 3 minus, here will be left with 2 over what? X minus 1. All right, so you enclose the brackets, sorry, no brackets, so dx. Okay, so you could do it like this, it doesn't matter. All right, so this will be equal to 2. When we integrate 1 over x minus 3, we will be obtaining the natural log of x minus 3. Okay, minus these 2 can also be factorized out here. All right, and then here will be also left with 1 over x minus 1. Okay, so when you factorize and when you integrate 1 over x minus 1 to, you will be getting the natural log of the definite value of what? X minus 1. All right, then you bring your integration constant plus c. All right, so now the solution here, we have 2. I'm rewriting the solution. So 2 multiplying ln the absolute value of x minus 3 minus 2 ln is the natural logarithm. Okay, the absolute value of what? Minus x minus 1, close the bracket, plus c. Okay, so now when you multiply these 2 through the expression, we'll be having 2 the natural logarithm of the absolute value of x minus 3 minus 2 times 2 will give us 4, multiplying the natural logarithm of the absolute value of x minus 1, then you can close the bracket, plus c. All right, so this will be the solution for this equation. Okay, so the first thing that you have to do is to resolve it into partial fraction. After resolving into partial fraction, then you substitute the partial fraction form into the integral, into the integration, and then you solve for the solution, which is this one. So this will be the end of the question. And then please, if you know you have not followed or subscribed to my videos, do so, and then share it for the benefit of others, and then wait for my next videos, and then it will be very exciting. Bye bye.